There's never been a better time to refine your cooking skills. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make an apple tart using a food processor, the blade attachment and the slicing attachment. Before you begin, clean your kitchen, get rid of all the clutter and make sure you've wiped down the countertops, tie your hair back, put your apron on. And the first thing I'm going to do is prepare my dish. So I'm using a deep pie dish, but you can use a regular dinner plate if you like. Just make sure that it's oven safe. So I'm getting a small amount of butter. I'm just tearing off a little bit of the paper at the side, and I'm just taking off a little bit of the butter at the corner. And I'm getting right into the corners of this. Now I don't want there to be lumps of butter showing, or it'll burn to the bottom. One of the advantages of making pastry with a food processor is you don't have to sieve the flour. So I've put the blade attachment into it, and I'm going to get my flour, which has been measured out already, and put it into the jug. Now, use a spatula. Scrape it all in. Okay. And then when you've done that, get your butter. And you just get the whole butter and you literally just put it in. Like this. Easy peasy. Try and keep your dirty implements on a dish, and then click that into place. So this has to click into place, and if it doesn't click in, it means it's not going to work. So click it like that. And then you literally push that in to prevent the flour from rising out of it. And use the pulse attachment like this. And your butter has been rubbed in to the flour to resemble fine breadcrumbs. I might just go a little bit more. Using regular tap water, and you should really actually cut. So using regular tap water and a tablespoon, measure out approximately 4 tablespoonfuls of water into the mixture. And this is where everything can go wrong in pastry making. And the trick I always find is to add as much moisture in now at the very beginning, especially if you're doing it by hand. So place the lid back on. And of course I could have just poured it into the hatch, but I didn't for some reason. And then just pulse that a few times. And you can see part of the recipe starting to come together, but it's still getting very powdery. So this is going to happen very fast. So I have to almost add it in slowly and watch what's going on. But I don't want the pastry to be too wet. I want it to be soft enough to handle, but moist enough to adhere together. So try that again. You can see that it's starting to come together. And one of the advantages of using food processors is that you don't have to handle the pastry too much. You need to have everything cold. The water needs to be cold, and the bowl needs to be cold, your hands need to be cold. So I'm just going to remove that pastry. And I must say it is a little bit damp, but I always think better damp than too dry. Right, so I'm going to get a flour dredger and just cast a small amount of flour on the work surface. Place that in the centre. And I'm going to just gently knead it. And it is soft enough to handle, but if I was to put my hand all the way through it, it would stick to my hand. But at the moment, because it's so cold, even though it's damp, if it's cold, it'll stay together and it won't get too mushy. Yeah, so that's nice. I'll just give it a light knead. And the kneading will bring out the gluten and a little bit of pliability and elasticity, so that when we roll it out, it'll stay together. More, I'd say. I'm not going crazy with the flour, and normally when I do this I just kind of drag flour around from the side like that as well, so you're cleaning up the table as you go along too. A little bit more. Yeah, it's a little bit damp, but at least it's smooth and it's not cracked. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this one. So I'm just going to shape it a little bit there. Okay, now normally you let pastry stand or sit in the fridge for a while. I'm going to show you a different way of doing this. A small half. The small half will be the top, the big half will be the bottom. Place the small half in a little bit of flour, put it to one side, back into the fridge. Get the other part, just shape it into a kind of a circle as much as you can with your hands, making sure that your hands are cold. And here's the trick for rolling out. You roll in one direction only, okay, with an even pressure, and then you rotate it and turn it around, and then you move always just away from you, equal pressure, go away from you, turn it, rotate it, equal pressure, and I'm keeping the shape. I'm trying not to pull or drag the pastry. As it gets bigger, you can go forward and backward. So to get the pastry into the dish, this is where things can go a little bit wrong. Dust it lightly with a little bit of flour. Even dust your rolling pin, and then just lay the rolling pin gently on the surface and roll up the pastry lightly. Don't pressure it. Lifting it up carefully, unroll it, just letting it fall into place. Oops, and there we go. Another thing that people can do wrong is they sometimes get their hand and they just bash it into the side like that, tearing and stretching the pastry. You just want to gently let it fall into the corners, and I'd always press the corners a little bit lightly. Trim off with the back of a knife any extra bits. And it's okay that the pastry doesn't go all around the side. I'm just avoiding waste doing it this way. You know, just patch it up, and this is the one that's going to be underneath. This is the part that no one will see, so it doesn't really matter if you have little patchy bits. And I've managed to patch it up okay. So after I do that, I can put that back into the fridge and let the pastry rest even further while I chop up the apples. And another neat trick, this is the lid of the apple tart, is if you want to roll it out, place it on a plate, and just even just kind of keep it lightly rolled in like that. And you can keep that in the fridge to rest while you chop up the apples. We get our lemon. This is just a half a lemon that was left over. And I'm going to just squeeze it into a bowl. Okay. Then I'm going to get one washed Bramley apple, halve it. Then I'm going to quarter it. And I'm using a smaller knife. I'm just going to take the core out, and I'm just going to give it a quick peel. Now you can use a peeler if you want. This is just a way that I've just done it over the years, that like a habit. And I just get my quarters and I put them straight into the lemon juice. Put a bad boy there, but we can just cut that away. No point wasting the whole apple. That's important, especially for a cooking exam, is that you've got a separate bowl for all of your scraps, and you just show that you're cleaning up as you go along. So I've put away the sieve, I've put away the lemon into this bowl here, so that my chopping board that I'm working with mainly isn't all cluttered. And of course the reason why we have lemon juice in the bowl is to prevent the apples from going brown. So now they're all chopped up, we've got a load of peels, they're great in a compost bin. And we're going to use the blade attachment. So just make sure that the blade is facing upright, so that, now you don't want to do this of course, but the blade is coming up and then the grating part is down. So just place that loosely on top of the spindle, keep it all in place, and some of these guys won't all fit in. Get your pusher back and just place them few of them down here. And you have to work pretty fast. So, you can see that I've got loads of chopped sliced apples from the food processor. This is so satisfying because the apples are nice and thin and you know that they're going to cook all the way through, and also it means you can put loads and loads of apple into your apple tart. The pastry that was in the fridge, and it's nice and firm, and that means that it's not going to curl in from the sides when we bake it. So I simply get 1/3 of my apples, spread them out any old way, take a spoon of sugar, sprinkle it on top. That's a little bit too much on one side, but anyway, just kick it over there. Then get the other third. There might be some big lumps you'll want to chop up a bit more if required. I'm going to get just a few cloves. In fact, I like quite a lot of them. A few more. A bit more sugar. About 4 to 6 tablespoons, depending on your sweet toothness. I'd also consider, if you have any leftover eating apples at home, just to throw them in, just to use them up. You know, the kind of ones that have gone a little bit soft, and they don't require a lot of sugar at all, if any. I'm using milk instead of beaten egg because I am short on eggs and milk will do instead. And I'd rather eat a boiled egg out of the last one than use it up on glazing a tart, to be quite frank. You can do what you want. So just a little bit of milk around the side, and then I'm going to lift up that nice firm lid, and just gently press it down on the sides, very, very gently. Okay, and then lift it up using the back of a knife, bring the knife towards you as you feed off those edges. Then you can just get a fork and go around the side like that if you like, or you can just get the side of your finger and just make this little baker's mark. It's a kind of a cute way of doing it. Pressing firmly with your finger, going around the side just to make this nice little fluted edge. And what you do is you put your finger in. Made the edge, and I'm going to just glaze it. Now I've decided to go for that egg. I said to myself, I've gone to all this trouble, why would I deprive myself of an egg? And this leftover egg can be used for even in a pancake batter actually. It's just one egg in the milk that I had beforehand, or you can use egg and water. It's probably more common anyway. So I don't too much glaze. I have quite glazed that, but don't too much either. And I'm just going to prick the center, and this is to create, to let air which builds up out. Okay. So, and then I've just made a few of these little leaves, and I haven't been too fussy about them. I've just made them very fast because in nature, not all leaves look the same. So here we are, a nice apple tart. And I've baked it until it's golden brown. And thank you for watching the video, and best of luck making your tart. I can't wait to see it. Bye.